All right, we have started recording, and I'm going to switch to the lecture we had last week. All right, I have switched to the lecture where we started last week. And again, I will tell you good morning, and I welcome you to today's series. And it's promised to be a very interesting as usual. I pray that the Holy Spirit will empower every one of us, and those of us who are also fasting too, will get the benefit of the uh, religious right that we are embarking on. That is going to help us in every way and make things right for every one of us. The topic we started last week has been qualitative research for I think 3 weeks. This is third week now, and we've gained a lot. Before we continue, may I request that someone should remind us of what we studied last week. Just remind us of where we stopped last week. Anybody can do this. Anybody can do this. I hope you can hear me, class.
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you so much. So please, I need a reminder, and the reminder will help us to have a refreshed memory of what we discussed. So anybody can have the floor. Remember, this is a discussion class, and student centered. When I say student centered, you are the one controlling the event. I'm not. We are all involved, which is what we call a cooperative learning. You play your part, I play my part. Your contributions might be what will remind you someday of what we have done. So we need someone to help us through this. Okay. Do you want me to mention names now?
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
I'm Oluwaseun Onoshoga, Public Health.
All right.
Last week we discussed about qualitative research approach, where where you explain the meaning, you go deeper into the meaning of qualitative research approach, why you ask what approach is. Then after we discuss about I believe it's the types of qualitative approach, which is the ontological assumption, which means nature of reality. We talked about the epistemological assumption and the axiological assumption, methodological assumption, and vectological assumption. Thereafter, you talk about the difference between the qualitative and quantitative research approach. We also discuss the similarity and the differences. Thereafter, we talk about the type of qualitative research design. You gave us about five: the case study, the historical. Before that, you talk about research design, then the types of qualitative research design, where you listed them and you discuss deeper about it. Then you talk about the role of researchers, the advantages. You ask us some questions that we should talk about the cultural. There's a particular place where you talk about. You said we should talk about the cultural, maybe the ideas of what they did in a state or something in different states. Then you talk about the phenomenological, that is the 20th century philosophical movement dedicated to describe the structure of experienced. I think that's all for now, sir.
All right. Thank you so much for that's wonderful for giving us that reflection. Do we have someone who would like to add to what she has said? That's from public health, and that's fantastic. May I also request after this we talk about a quiz that you will have very soon, so that let's know the day and the mode of the quiz, so that you would know that we are into business and not something you can just play with. All right, can we have someone to add to what public health has given to us?
Yes, sir. Adepoju, nursing department.
Thank you.
In addition to what Mrs. Oluwaseun Onasoga has mentioned, you also mentioned, told us about ethnography, culture, knowing the culture of people, immersing the researcher should immerse himself into the culture of the people. Then the advantages of ethnography, and we also mentioned the examples of ethnographic research. I think that's all for now, sir.
All right, thank you so much for that. Thank you so much. May I let you know that the woman who promised to send the link for the transcription has done that. I will see if I can access that at the end of the class. If I have the information, I would also drop that on the WhatsApp, and that's to tell you that the discussion is transcribed to text for those of you who might be interested. All right, thank you so much for that. Do we have any trouble from any of you during the studying period? I know it's busy, but one of the benefits that you would enjoy in this course is for you to have few minutes after the lecture for discussion again. You need to, I mean, for reflection. You need to also have few minutes to reflect on what you may have been taught. So while you during your reflection moment, were there situations that you encountered that you need clarification or that you would like to also share with us so that we can benefit from your wealth of knowledge? 1 minute for that.
Yes, sir. Adepoju, yes, sir.
All right.
Thank you, sir. Concerning this ethnography, sir, you said that researcher should immerse himself into the culture of the people. We should believe in what they are doing. But,
Th-
sir, what type of instrument are we going to use to collect data in that instance, sir?
Thank you so much. I think we have uh, invested so much on that discussion, and I would leave that to one of the class members to answer. That's a good question. So, can anybody answer that for us? What kind of instruments are we going to use? What type of instrument are we going to use to collect this? By the way, as a little distraction from the current point, you will be having series of assignments. Two were given last week as a result of the need for us to fulfill all the requirements. I'm sure one of the question, if you, I'm not, I think you've been given, I've given you the question on the instrument. It's not for us to copy and paste, it's for us to study. As a matter of fact, some of the assignments are things that we should cover in class, but because of our time, we will not be able to do that. And it's an exposition and provision for you to learn outside that and add that to your knowledge. So please don't take them for granted as if we are just copying and pasting. If you copy and paste something you don't understand, it will come out sometime for you to defend it. So let's listen to what kind of instruments can we use to measure the culture of the people, which is ethnography, when we go on research. Can someone help us?
Yes, sir. My hand is up.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Actually, I may not
Okay.
see that. Just always speak when you are ready.
Oh,
All
okay.
right.
All right, sir. Good morning once again, sir. My name is Saliu Adenike, Nursing Department.
Thank you.
Ethnography is still under the category or classification of qualitative research. And for every qualitative research, we're either using interview or observation list or um, um having interaction anyway and getting data directly from the people who have a lived experience. So I think we should use interview or all the instruments that belong to the category of a qualitative research.
All right, thank you so much. I quite agree with that. Even though it's not, we're not talking about phenomenology, we're talking about ethnography. Ethnography has to do with the culture of a particular environment, what you can observe. Like you
Yes.
have mentioned, observation is a key factor there. Beside observation, you can also interview. And issues of such is not I read. You can describe to us what you have read. What you can only tell us is what you have seen. And I used some connotations last week that were colloquial to the local environments that we are. People will say, I saw with my koro eye. So ethnography are issues of koro eye, if you will allow me to use that connotation online. So I think we have answered that. Are you comfortable with the answer, madam, that asked the question?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. So we based with
Yes,
that,
sir.
we would all
Okay.
right. Any other
Yes, sir. Yes, I want to contribute, sir.
go
We
ahead.
can also, this is Lawa from nursing department, sir.
Go
So
ahead.
we can also do some video coverage that could be interpreted into your research. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you so much for expanding that to our skills. Um, I just want you to be informed that when you are talking about interviews, please mute your profile if that is possible. Mute your profile, otherwise, I will have to do it at my end. It's very important for us to take note that when you interview, there are methods of interview. There's interviews that we can embark on. We can have the dialogue. All that we do is actually we can have the dialogue on a physical level. Okay, and basically, when we're talking about this interview, it's not a phone call. Remember, you have to see, you have to witness. It's not something that you can have over a distance and asking people what happened and all that. So it has to be. And when you are interviewing, of course, there is no how you can keep pace with writing. Most of the time, it's actually recording, and your recording can be both data and video. Let's take note, and you can also um, invest your time in studying more on the mode of collection of interviews, which is very possible to use other method. And beside, you can also use both method. You may not be able to. One method may not help you out or solve the issue. You may have to use both method and transcribe both method in your document appropriately. All right. Very soon, maybe in the next, hopefully by next week, I would like us to have a test. And the test is going to be immediately we leave the class, it's going to be online. I will just send a link to your WhatsApp and you would activate the link wherever you are. It's going to be a test of 5 minutes, objective questions, 20 questions, 5 minutes. But because we live in different environment where internet connectivity varies, I will leave it for 10 minutes. But after that 10 minutes, it will be withdrawn. And whatever we now have as issues, we'll see how we can resolve that. We will have two tests, by the way. That's just the first one. The second one will also happen subsequently, and you'll also be informed of the day. So please save this date. Next week Sunday, you have the first one. May I also request if Dr. Anokuru is able to make it with us this morning? Okay.
I'm here with us this morning.
Thank you, Dr. Anokuru. Good morning. Dr. Anokuro, at some point, I have introduced him and several times here with us. At some point, he's going to also take the class with us. So it's not just coming as observant. Very soon, at the moment, I can cover finish qualitative to a significant point. It's going to start with quantitative with us and before our presentation. Thank you. And it's also is also going to contribute intermittently as the lesson unfolds. All right, we started phenomenology, research last week, design, and we have explained that it's actually a live experience of what we go through. Also, it's very, very interesting to know that it's not something you can read from a book. It's something that you have experienced and you overcome it. So it's not something that your parents experienced and you were giving the stories. No, it's something you really saw yourself and how you navigate and you survive. People wants to know so that that could also help them. In the laboratory, you had some issues in research and you came through. So how would you tell someone who is just starting to also go through the same thing, or in computer science, you did some research, you did some programming, you had some breakthrough, and which has never come before, and you like to share that experience. Okay, that's phenomenology. And also in the law system, there were some cases that were phenomenal, and you did it, and you were, talk of the town in terms of helping to bring things, uncover issues in research, and you have to also share that with people. These are things that you were part of it. So we have some examples that we would see. Most times in the street or on the street, you may have been, these are not things that are in practice again, seeing things like this, um, going around on the street and you see pictures as shown on the screen for people, who will meet you and ask you questions about situations. If you are a worker, why are you working? Sometimes we see TikToks asking developed on people who are actually matriculating, and they ask questions. Do you know what you are doing today and all that? And they give us alternative answers. This is actually an example of what an opinion should be. So, our opinion of issues which we witness ourselves are actually an example of phenomenology. Another one here, if I ask you what is happening here, yes, you may have read this, but if you were not there, there's no way you can tell us exactly what took place. This is also could be this was a demonstration that happened years ago in Lagos, and that's also an experience based on those who encounter and survive. Also, for those who may have witnessed a wedding ceremony, how it happened, how it took place, the culture of uh, the Igbo land, the Hausa land, and also the Yoruba. These are also could be described as a phenomenology if you have seen something that you like to share. Now, mind you, we're talking about research here, not just for fun. Also, a football match, you witness it, you can also share better than those um, who read about it or who uh, watch it. You watch it, you also witness it. Okay. So let's have a question here that could help us. Before the question, let's have some rules of phenomenology. Uh, in phenomenology, the researcher is the collector of the instrument here. You see here that is the instrument for data collection. Role of the researcher. You are the one that is really collecting the data, and you establish good rapport with participant. It's very important that you have to. If you don't, you will lose touch with uh, the content that you are supposed to get. Then here the third point says that the researcher is supposed to explicate beliefs through bracketing. You may ask what is actually bracketing. Bracketing is the bias you have before getting into a research. you have to drop that bias. Otherwise, the bias, if you are not dropping the bias, then you need to explain the bias on ground. I kept mentioning this. These are things that can really mar or destroy your qualitative research if your mindset is not put aside in writing before the research as part of the document that will be submitted. These are my bias. I have this, I have this, I have this. However, it will not be embedded in the content of the research. It's going to be separated. So these are things that you need to know and you need to really drop aside. So the meaning of the lived experience is interpreted from participants' stories. It's not from your own story. You cannot bring your own story into it.
Please, sir,
You are not
are you
studying
sharing your
yourself.
screen? Sorry,
Oh, you
can't see
cannot see
you.
my
I
screen,
can't.
right?
No, sir, I can't see you.
That's
No,
okay.
you are not sharing, sir.
But you kept quiet. I was sharing my screen and you kept quiet. So sorry. So why did you keep quiet up to now?
I thought
Yeah,
other
just a
people are
discussion.
saying. I wanted to confirm too. Thank
Oh,
you.
that is
I thought you
serious.
were just explaining. I didn't know that
I
you're
don't
already
ex- I
sharing.
don't explain things.
I thought you were just discussing.
No, no, no. You are getting things totally wrong. If I was just discussing, the class started a while ago. If I was reflecting on what we have done is another issue. But the class started, and I'm supposed to allow you to see what I was doing. So I was
You've
not
not seen
just
anything since
explaining.
you started.
Okay.
You've not shown anything.
All right. Have you seen things now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, we can see your
All
screen.
right. Sorry about that. We've not gone too far. We may not be able to go back to what we. Sorry about that. So we can continue from here, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, you can, sir.
Okay. Sorry. Please, when you are not, I told you before now, this is a discussion class for mature people. When we are not comfortable, you have sometimes I may be overwhelmed too, and speed up with my teachings without knowing. You can call my attention to it that can I just roll back so that you can understand. That's the essence of being here. Please always voice out when we are not comfortable or when things are not the way we feel they should be. We are not doing another research in that moment. So I hope the screen is visible now. Thank you so much. We are talking about roles of researcher in phenomenology, and these are things that we are just trying to share. And one of the points we mentioned here was on the issue of the instrument collector that the researcher is involved. The researcher is the instrument for data collection. Okay, then the researcher must establish a good rapport with participants. Also, applicate beliefs to bracketing, and we have explained that you must put the bias aside in as much as possible. Document that. And may I request that someone's profile is open? Do mute your profile. And all right, Sally, can you share your point with us?
Yes, sir. I need more explanation on this bracketing. It's not clear to me yet.
Okay, bracketing are beliefs. Your bracketing, your bias. I call that bias. What you believe a case is. For example, you have an idea for you in nursing. You have an idea of cancer patient, and you believe that there is no way that a cancer can survive. For instance, let's talk about colon cancer. Or you believe that no patient can actually survive colon cancer. If that is the belief you have before the research, you need to document this somewhere that this is your belief, this is your ideas about this. However, it's not going to interfere with the research
With
on ground.
the research on ground.
Mary
Okay,
Oge,
sir. I
Very
want
okay.
I
Mary
want
Oge,
it
Very
clear
okay.
to
can
Very
you
an
mute
okay.
your
to an
Can
profile?
you
extent.
put your paper?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello, sir.
Hello, sir.
Hello, sir.
Hello, sir.
Please just hold
Please
on.
just hold on.
I need to mute that
I need to
particular
mute that
person
particular person
who is solving a
who is
domestic
solving a
issue.
domestic issue.
All right, I wasn't through with my explanation when the interference actually came. We are discussing about uh, colon cancer. You have or cancer of the breast. You have the belief that no one can actually survive it. And if you bring that into your research, it's going to be a bracketing issue. So what we are saying is that bracketing is separating your personal belief, which will be which will affect be a bias over what you are doing. Separate it from the result that you are expecting to get. Okay, so that's what we are saying. It has to be separated before you even start at all. All right.
Hello, sir. I'm not sure you are projecting again. I can't see.
Yes, I will do that right away. Thank you.
Okay, sir.
I had to drop it in the course of the. Thank you so much, Mr. Fidelix. All right, so Madam Adenike, I don't know if that is well understood.
Yeah, yes, sir. It's like 50% clear, but um my curiosity is where at the point of my write up in my project, am I putting it and my statement of the problem, or am I
No,
including it in my
no,
introduction, or
no.
where am I putting
Your
this
research,
bracketing?
your research design,
Okay,
chapter
okay.
3, your research design.
Methodology.
Yes, all that we are doing, by the way, everything that we've started in this course is actually on chapter 3. Please, it's chapter 3. Is that better now?
Yeah, it's much better. Thank you, sir.
Thank you too for understanding that. All right, do we have any other question? Do we have any other questions that we may want to ask? All right, let me just read something to us for a clarity. I'm trying to get a public domains. Okay, now listen to this. I just got this out to support the content. I would have shared this on the screen, but I don't want to share this because the recording is on. It's not going to capture my browser. I have set the specific browsers I want to use on. So, listen, I read from the public domain. It's a bracketing in research design is a primary qualitative method, meaning that bracketing is not involved in quantitative. Okay, where the researchers consciously identifies, set aside, and bracket their own biases. Do you hear that? Personal beliefs, experiences, and preconceptions about a topic to ensure they are not studying the participants' experience rather than their own. I wish you can also find time to check and research more about this. That's what we mean by bracketing. You must explicate, remove, separate your idea. Otherwise, if you don't separate your idea, you will be interpreting your idea rather than interpreting the idea of the respondent. I hope Adenike is more than 50 now. I hope that has moved to 100 or probably 80%. Now,
Excuse me, sir.
yes,
Please, I'm sorry for taking you back.
okay,
Now, in this methodology, we
yes,
have different steps. Different
yes.
steps of research design, research setting, blah, 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 blah. At what point is it under ethical consideration that this bracketing will come up?
Now, it's possible to put it under ethical consideration, but you won't put it under ethical consideration. You have to put it under research design explanation at the
That's right. Okay.
beginning. At
Very
the
clear now.
beginning.
Thank you.
At the beginning. We are talking about number one, you can start this way. This research The research adopted for this course is a mixed method approach, considering um, longitudinal research design for the quantitative and phenomenology design for what? For the qualitative. However, taking if you have set the condition for the quantitative because it has to be in that order, you have started with quantitative and it has to flow. So you can say quantitative design is going to take care of this mode, while the qualitative is actually phenomenology. However, there are issues that ethical issues that could affect the result in form of bracketing, and as the researcher, it is good to identify the personal bias or bracketing that may affect this, and you list them below so that whoever is judging you on the efficacy and the validity of your result later, we just go back and flag it that, oh, the researcher has actually identified this bias, so meaning that this has no personal influence on the research. That is how it should be written, and I hope this satisfies your questions.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. All right, there are quite a number of advantages that phenomenology comes with. It's an in-depth understanding of individuals' phenomenon. Remember, individual. It varies. You cannot, because oh, my mom didn't survive it. My mom went through uh, pain in childbearing. Oh, my mom or my wife normally, complain that her own pain is from the back. No, my wife is own is started from the head. This is not a collective opinion. Remember, it's a personal, individual experience, and it varies from one person to the other. That is one thing that we must, identify in phenomenology. And it is original data. It's not secondary data. As much as possible, if you want to use the word primary, that's I hope you understand that it's unique to individual. Okay. Now, let's see some disadvantages involved. I'm just going to mention one, then we go ahead. The subjectivity of the data leads to difficulties in establishing reliability and validity. Okay, when we say subjectivity here, sometimes you consider this idea as opinion as something that is subjective. Why is your own different? Why is it like this? How do I know that you are really giving us the truth in this case? You don't have. There's nothing you can do about it. It is personal and it is the truth. However, we have measures of validating this later that we will discuss. The second point has been actually discussed. It is difficult to detect or to prevent researchers induced bias. Sometimes you want to separate the bias, and sometimes you find it very difficult to actually do this because of so many circumstances around which would still come across in the process of this research. Now let's look at, I've mentioned a few examples in the course of this explanation, but let's look at this very one, this particular number one here. Okay, a phenomenological approach was chosen to explore the lived experience of student occupational therapists during their first year of fieldwork placement. Hmm. Those of you in public health, and I'm sure you know what we mean by occupational therapist. You want to study student occupational therapists during their what? During their first year of field placement. Now, what do we mean by occupational therapist? Those of you in public health, can you help us shed more light in this? Can you help us? Do we have public? Yeah, I know. Someone has answered our question this morning from public health, so that gives the assurance that we have some public health students here. Are you still active with us, or you left public health? What do you mean by occupational therapist?
Hello, sir.
You have the floor.
Ehen. I believe occupational therapies help people to develop or regain skills for their daily work.
Thank
like
you.
they are addressing, looking at, for instance, looking at their emotion, their cognitive challenges too.
Okay. And as a matter of fact, if you want to break it down to a layman, you talk about challenges they face in their occupation.
Yes.
Good. Thank you so much. So it's possible that
Hello,
when you,
sir.
thank you.
This is done after illness. That's after they're um after they've injured and they are trying to recover. So
Okay.
the occupational therapists help them to develop the skills, maintain the skills, so that they will actually, when they recover, they would go back to their normal function.
Thank you so much. That's a very better understanding to to it again. So
Can I
guess.
say something, sir?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. The occupational therapists are people who are trained to actually help to prevent any form of deformity or injury in a workplace. However, if it happens eventually that someone sustains any occupational hazard or any occupational injury, they also help the person to regain back the skill or get back to normal as the person was before.
Thank you. That is a very comprehensive explanation to all that we have learned. So we are talking about someone that is trained here to help students to ensure that such do not happen. So you may have to document your experiences on how you did this and you are able to succeed, that perhaps nothing happened or perhaps something happened and you were able to still help the individual student to get back to his or her feet in the process of the field work that she has chosen. So that's the study here. So do we have, I think based on this explanation that we have been given, if we're asked to do a research on this, we should be able to do this as well without any challenges whatsoever. The second question is this, which is in line with the first. The focus of the study was on acquisition of cultural, no, competencies. Okay, so we can also, we are talking about professional competencies there. If you are talking about cultural competencies, it's going to be another question. But let's leave that alone and go to another one. The pain threshold experienced by that's not here now. Let's see. Okay, is this that's the question here. The back pain is another example. Okay, that correlation studies may tell us about the types of people who experience back pain and the apparent causes. This is a mixed mode design where we have phenomenology intertwined with what? Experimental design. You can see that randomized control trial of drug is coming there, to compare the effectiveness of one analgesia against what? Another before you can regain that. So this can be a mixed method where people tell you, oh, this is the pain I experienced. And while you're telling us the type of pain and how you actually overcome them, you can also have a randomized controlled trial of different drugs that may have or could have helped in this process. And at the end of the day, we scale it down to the efficacy of one that can be adopted, continuously for people that may fall into that type of challenge. Another way out is for people to look at it and say, but what is it actually like to live with back pain? That's another way out here, which could be totally phenomenology, which cannot be mixed. What are the effects on people's life? What problem does it cause? If you are asked to explain this, I'm sure the women in the house will be able to tell us better. The women or the men, do you experience back pain?
So what I normally experience is not back pain but waist pain.
Okay, I'm sure that is peculiar to more may not be more peculiar to men, especially those who have a sedentary
But
life.
sir, let me this note. I don't have this note too.
You are not supposed to have it. It's the lecturer's note, not Mr. Fidelic's note. Do you
Please, sir,
want
can
to?
you share with us for us to study?
Yes, it will be shared. I explained last week. Hopefully, Before next week, you have the note. Are we together?
Sir, it has been sir, it has been shared.
Okay,
It's in the
I've
group.
forgotten. I think I shared it last week after the class.
Yes, sir. It has been shared, sir.
Okay,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Fidelix.
No, I have not seen anything like that. So
I've not seen any note.
I've
Oh.
not
No,
seen any
I
note.
don't have it.
I
It
don't
has
have
not
it,
been shared.
please.
We
It
have
has
not
not been
seen
It
shared.
has not been shared.
Please.
All right. Let's have one house. Thank you so much. Check the Google Classroom. Check your Google Classroom. If it's not there, it will be there today. But I think
It's not the same, sir.
hey, madam, if I'm the one that shared the note, it's the same note. I didn't change this. This has been there for a while. Okay? If I'm the one, I said you got this from someone. But if I'm the one that shared it, I have not removed this. And if it's not the same, it will be the same before next class. Has that solved the problem? Hello, has that solved the
Thank
problem?
you. Expect
Yes,
it.
sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. All right, we're going to move further to another type of research design, which is grounded theory. Now, grounded theory here, it's another design that is very, very, important as the two other methods that we have mentioned. So the grounded theory approach is a qualitative research methodology that attempts to bring or to unravel meanings of people's interaction, social actions, and experiences. In other words, these explanations are grounded in participants' own interpretation and explanation. Please underline that participants' own interpretation or explanation. This is not something that you can be involved with. This is not something that you can help the researcher to unravel, but it's only the researcher that can what? That can help the these explanations are grounded in participants, not the researcher's explanation, but participant. So this researcher, it's very clear here that your bracketing has to be very strong here. Your bias has to be almost zero level here. You cannot be involved in this at all. Okay? You cannot help the participant to bring out the solution. So the term grounded means that the theory developed from the research. Now, at the end of this solution, whatever theory you have developed can help further research or other researchers to also bring their solution to light. Meaning, it's a very difficult area that you don't get solution often, but one among many can help other researchers to also find solution to their challenges. So what are we saying here? Let's give an example here. Before the example, we should know that grounded theory has some philosophy. It is what we call a symbolic interactionism, meaning that humans react to things on the basis of meanings that events have for them in everyday life. This is very challenging. It's not something that you see. Let's look at this example here. When you see, um, look at this example, experiences of alcohol dependent, you know, elderly, experiences of alcohol dependent elderly people. Okay, but that's the correct one, elderly, which could be depending on the sex. It's a grounded theory, and you wonder how can elderly people still be depending on alcohol, and you're wondering what could be the cause of this. You have started this, or perhaps you did not start your life with this, but you are ending your life this way, and it becomes a mystery to you. Now, if I ask us to read this abstract here, you discover that yes, they have their reasons, okay, and a lot of things actually happen that contributes to leading them to this life, and they just woke up and said the only way we can continue to live and to forget this issue is to continue to smoke or to continue to drink because XYZ has happened. that has marred their life. Let's read this, by the way. To interpret the experience of alcohol dependent elderly people, that's the method. And I mean, that's the objective. And the method is what? Qualitative research developed through the theoretical and methodological assumption of the grounded theory in the Stossian version. It was carried out in a small town in the mid-western region of the state of Sao Paulo. The selection was by theoretical sampling totaling 25 participants from three sample groups. Semi-structured interviews were conducted from 2019 to 2020. Now let's see the results. The phenomenon, that is when we are talking about phenomenon here, we're not talking about phenomenological research. We are talking about is a noun here referring to the situation. The phenomenon experiencing alcohol dependent in old age is conditioned by the category imitating alcohol consumption. Are actions, interaction justifying alcohol consumption, and coping with alcohol treatment and abstinence, whose consequences are experiencing the harm of alcohol dependence and experiencing what? Feelings. From this, you would say that why has such individuals still gotten into that? There's no clear cut. Okay, all you have just gone through is that they are totally what depending on what alcohol consumption. So it was evidence that the elderly participant consider alcohol dependent as a way. Look at that. Now the reason is coming out as a way to deal with negative emotions. Do you hear that? In this trajectory, they experience physical, mental, and social consequences. So the elderly in abstinence express feeling of loneliness, regrets, and desire for a life with quality, and indicate that behavior that behavioral change occurs through treatment and awareness of its harmful what? Effect. That's a terrible, terrible one in life. And that is a study that has led such people, elderly people, to be, totally dependent on what? On alcohol. And I'm sure too, if you also carry the same research to those who smoke and ask them why are you ask them how many packet do you do in a day? You say okay, on an average of 100, I mean on an average of 100 sticks, which is probably 10 packs or more in a day. Wow. And you ask them why, they also have something to say. So at the end of the day, how do you help such people to get out to life after such? Remember what I just read. Feeling of what? Loneliness, mental and social consequences, trajectory of life, regret, and how did you help them to get back to their, to such a lovely life after this? This may not be something that may be a daily occurrence, but such method can also be used, becomes a theory, grounded theory to help others to also get out of life. And this is very peculiar to the lawyers. You had a very nasty, very tough case, and you unravel the issue. And that's what we call case studies. The case study you document become a reference point. This grounded theory becomes a reference point for other people to learn how to also get out of such difficult life scenarios. Okay, all right. Can we take questions here, or we? Let me give you some. There are so many other examples. Let's look at another example before we take your questions and contributions. Look at another one called paramedic deliver teleconsultation. Paramedic deliver teleconsultation. Those in the health system, you know what this is all about, and it worked out. Okay, it worked out. So this becomes a case for people to learn from. We can have a comparison of two schools of grounded theory. We call the first one as what we call a a Classer and Strauss, and we have the other one as Strauss and Cobbin. The first one is 1967, and the recent one is 1990. So there are some questions that we can begin to ask ourselves in this kind of case. Um, the first is that granted theory developing the questions such as questions may be explicitly stated but can be implied from the purpose. You can state a question of what you want, but may not come out at the end of the day. Question is broad and may change several times as times are what? As times are as data are what are being analyzed. It will change. Then basic social process, then what is the process and so many. So a lot of questions would come in when you are involved in this kind of research. Let's see some benefits and some roles of the researcher. One, studies the behavior and the social settings that influence the interaction is what the researcher is doing. Then the researcher is a participant and observer, nothing more. You cannot be involved more than that. No effort is made by the researcher to put aside. Now, let's look at this. This is another difficult one. No effort. And I want us to share why this is true. We have been talking about putting brackets aside, but this one is saying totally a different issue, that no effort is made by researcher to put aside assumption. And this assumption, I have two questions. Is this assumption now our bracketing or not? That's the first question. Let's answer that. Then from there we move to the other question. Is the assumption we are talking about here a bias, which is it the bracketing or not?
It is not, sir.
Okay, what do you think the assumptions will be?
I think the assumptions have to come from the participants and not the researcher. Whereas for bracketing, it has to do with the researcher himself.
Okay, I need more answers from you. Another person, please.
Yes,
Thank you
sir.
so much.
Sorry, this place is very noisy.
Yes,
Can I,
I'm not requesting to you in person. I mean from the class. Thank you.
can I speak, sir?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. No effort is made by researcher to put aside assumptions. You just told us that in ground theory, the researcher is not the assumption or the bias of the researcher is not really going to be um, I'm looking for the noun for the adjective to use now. Is not really going to make a lot of meaning because the what the people think, what they feel, or what they interpret or what they explain matters better than what the researcher thinks or feels. So
Okay,
I think
thank
it's
you
the
so much. Thank you, Madam Adenike and others. Let me just help you out here. We have been talking about putting our bracketing aside.
Sir, sorry, can I speak?
Oh, Oga Fidelis from computer. May I request for other people in computer? Are we active today? Are we actually there?
Yes,
Where
one
are
Martin
likes of
from computer. Yes.
Chidi Ebere?
We are active, sir. Yes, sir, we are here, sir.
What of Aisha? Hmm. All right, continue, please. Oga
Okay, so,
Fidelis.
sir, what I believe is that the researcher in itself or herself is bringing existing knowledge to guide his interpretation. So, but they must still ensure that the theory emerges from the data that they are looking at. So that is what I believe.
That's very good. Thank you so much. That is exactly what we are saying here. We have been
Yes, sir.
speaking against. Please let's mute our profile things. We have been speaking against uh, involving personal experience in what in research to avoid bias results. But here we are advocating for it. Can anybody help us why it is essential that researchers must help respondents to get solution here? Can anybody say this? Can anybody help us?
Yes, sir. Let me respond to that.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. I'm going actually from computer science. Yes, sir. So, from my understanding of the grounded theory, each researcher responds based on the theory that governs the participant's everyday life. So, each of these everyday life is categorized under particular ideology, let's say an assumption or a theory. Someone who believes in a particular thing. So, these theories are already forming that bias by the participants. Researcher is only helping and guiding the researcher to discover what they believe in. Right. That is saying forming that grounded theory. It is grounded in the participant's own interpretation of that thing. So somehow bias is included, but from the participant's own view of it.
Okay,
Thank you, sir.
Chidebere, you went somewhere else now, totally. Okay, let's stay in the lane of Mr. Fidelis. Let me use this example to clarify this, and I still stated that in my last for the regular people. You have a 15-year-old person that's still bedwet, and it has become almost dramatic for you as a parent, almost killing yourself every day. And you kept saying, this is horrible, this is absurd, this has never happened even while we were growing up and all that. And your mother was there, she was just listening to you, how you kept, agonizing on the issue. And she's quietly called you aside to tell you, my daughter, this is wrong. What you just exclaim now is totally wrong. Do you know at the age of 16, you still wet the bed, but you never knew? But your mother now sits you down. This is what you do, this is what you do, this is what you do, because that was what we did to help, get you out of it. That is bringing researchers' idea, opinion into helping the child. So, how did I help you out of the situation when you were at age 16? Number one, we ensure that you don't drink water anytime from 6 upward. We ensure that you don't eat. We ensure that we keep waking you up. And before you knew it, you became used to the system. And that was how we helped. But not in shouting that this has never happened in history. It has actually happened even to you yourself. Gentlemen and ladies, what do you say about this? Would this help the child in question or not?
It will, sir.
It will
Prof,
help
it
the
will
It
child.
will, it will, it will.
sure
This
help.
this is
It should, it should.
what we call, thank you. This is what we call grounded theory. And that becomes a theory established to help other people to get out of a very difficult situation. Remember, we talk about a woman that is leaning on drug, and you were able to help her. Sometimes you want to apply for a job, especially in the Western or European country, and they are not looking for pastor per se, but they are looking for pastoral evidence to see that you can get your student out of a particular situation. Not that they are holy or their religious level has gotten to that, but they want someone that has that. It is something we refer to as a grounded theory that you have to bring out of nowhere to help the child overcome, or either you call it a child or you call it an adult to overcome a particular situation. That is what we mean here. So, efforts from researchers' opinion are not put aside. They are not put aside because that will help the woman that is almost dying smoking. You have to tell her that that's not the end of the issue in life. That in fact, your grandma had the same experience, but today she's still alive because she had to put it aside that life can still be better than that after 80 and all that. So these are issues, experiences, people who are getting themselves obsessed about life and killing themselves because they fail to pass a particular grade or they fail to pass a particular course. How did you help them out? The public health people, these are issues, that Grounded theory is everywhere, in law, everywhere. A case that people begin to make reference to. Okay? So the advantages are there, and we should try and go through that. Let's see one of the disadvantages that we have over this. Grounded theory failed to recognize the embeddedness of the researchers and thus obscure the researchers' considerable agency in data construction and interpretation. Hmm. Grounded theory failed to recognize the embeddedness of the researchers. Uh, Sometimes, if you are not careful, your involvement, you don't get involved until you have listened to the participant's theory and an explanation of what is going on, and you don't interpret or give solution from a distance, and that's why this is very very becomes a challenge. For instance, I gave you issues earlier about the woman, elderly woman, and you saw the title and then you interpret the title straight away. Ah, no, no, she's not responsible. Wow, that's not good. That could lead to this disadvantage I just read now. Or you saw somebody on the street messing around as a woman. Ah, no, she's not responsible. Why don't you listen to her story? I know the act is irresponsible, but the person may be responsible than the act itself. So these are issues that we have to. These are issues that we have to avoid. That we don't pass judgment until we get the story behind the act. I hope this is clear. If I saw a hand that may testify that we have a question, you are free to ask your question now.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, madam. How are
My
you?
my name is Adejumoke Dada.
Go ahead, please.
I want some
From which
clarification.
department?
Nursing.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, sir. The first question is that is it right to say that the researcher should clarify his assumptions, even though he's not them aside?
Yes,
Well, that's
it's
one.
okay.
The second question is that apart from the theory that is developed from the data collected in grounded theory approach, what are the other distinct differences between phenomenology and grounded theory, sir? Thank you, sir.
Okay. Can we leave this question for the class to answer? Class members, how would you answer this? The first one was actually answered earlier, but I think we can as well still, you know, show more light on this to help these colleagues to get out of this. Take your question again. Can you take your question again? Let's treat them one after the
Okay,
other.
the first one is that is it right to say that the researcher should clarify his assumptions, even though he's not putting them aside?
Yes, it is right. But do you know one thing? You don't even know the assumption until you finish the research. Do you get that?
Okay.
You don't know it. You don't know what you're going to meet in the field. You only have idea of what you want to do. But it's good too. You can put the assumptions before. You can put the assumption before, and then later, when you are done, you can go back and make corrections to what you have written down, because what you have written down may negate your eventually what you are doing. I don't know.
Sir,
Is
what
that
if those assumptions come up in the course of the study?
yeah, that's what I've said. I said whatever you have written down, even if it's not appropriate, you can always go back and make corrections after the research as your assumption.
Thank you, sir.
Right. Then the second one is on what issue now?
That apart from the theory that is developed from data collected in grounded theory, what are the other distinct differences between phenomenology and grounded theory approaches?
Okay. Can someone help to answer this in class? Even though I also have a solution to that, but I want us to be involved. I want us to think outside the box.
Yes, I think
Yes,
the
sir.
distinct difference between phenomenology and a grounded theory is the bracketing. In phenomenology, you're putting aside your bias and your or personal beliefs. But in grounded theory, you are rather using your personal beliefs and bias to help the research, the participant to unravel or solve that particular issue raised.
Yeah, I quite agree with you, Chidebere, on that. That's quite uh, phenomenal as an answer. So, do we have any other one that we can think about?
Yes, sir. I also want to say that in grounded theory and phenomenology can be we can decipher them through their purposes, their focus, their outcome, and then the type of research questions that they will use and the way they will be analyzed. Because for the grounded theory, they develop the theory from the data that is collected. But in phenomenology, the researcher needs to understand the way of life of the people and the kind of experiences that they have had. And now the focus is on the action and interaction of the people of the participants in grounded theory. But in phenomenology, the personal experience that they have had, that is what, and the meaning they give to it, is what the researcher will be looking at.
All right.
Then, if you look at it from the angle
Yes,
of
sir.
the action,
Morning, sir.
Yeah, let's. Will you allow the current contributor to conclude, please?
Okay, sir.
Thank you. Madam Adenike, are you done?
yeah, I'm done. I think I'm done, sir.
All right, thank you. All right, then the last person who was about to speak, you have the floor.
Oh, yes, sir. Good morning, sir. This is Nasiru Microbiology, sir.
All right, thank you, Mr.
Yes, sir. Sir,
Nasiru.
based off your explanation, if I'm correct, so for the phenomenology, we are talking about several individuals who have shared an experience. So that is based on that is going to be based off the unit of analysis between phenomenology and grounded theory. So for phenomenology, we're talking about several groups of individuals who have shared an experience. But for the grounded theory, we're talking about a process of action um that is involving many people. So the unit of analysis there is what actually differs in the both of them. Then when you talk about, let's say, the aim or the goal that differentiate the both of them, which is phenomenology and guided theory. So for phenomenology, it's helping to describe the essence of a lived experience. While for guided theory, you're talking about developing a theory or a model that is grounded in a particular set of data.
All right, thank you so much. I appreciate all your comments, Mr. Nasiru, Adenike, and others. Thank you. You have, and Mr. Adinka Chidebere, you have all said well. One other point, apart from the model and the experiences that you've shared, has to do with phenomenology is, I will use the word overcomers. You are studying the overcomers, and the model or grounded theory is that you are the one contributing to make them overcomers. They are not overcomers yet, but your objective is to ensure that they are overcomers. And the moment they overcome, then they become a model for others. So that's another angle that you can also use to add that to what you also know. All right, haven't gone through that. We would like to go through the fourth method or design, which is historical. Okay, historical or narrative. We will take that together. And one benefit of this design is that it actually appears in both qualitative and quantitative. Histories. Without histories, there's the historians. I don't know if they are here. If you are here, you can just let me know. Without history, it's quite difficult for us to know the future. History gives us a flashback to be able to determine the future. Okay, so and what happens in history? I want to go back to my connotation used earlier. Historical here, history here, we don't have koro I. Use the word koro I. We are not expatiating on what I saw. Let's get that clear. We are expatiating on what I know. Okay, so what I know could be basically on what you read. So they are based on documentations. They are based on documentation. And another very good example of that is the grounded theory itself. Grounded theory is not based on what you saw, it's based on what has been documented that has helped Babangida to overcome certain things. And sorry, the word Babangida here is not is a connotation not referring to a name of a person. I must apologize for that. And I would rather use the word what you have helped Mr. X to overcome. It becomes something you read in the library. And when you read something, it's not just a one-off thing. You must have read that thing and make sure that you do a research on it. Ensure that what you have read is not just documented by under pressure, it's not documented by mistakes, it's not documented by error, it's documented because it's a fact. Okay? So that is history. And that's the difference. Something you never cited it, but something you read and you had done your research, you found out that this is actually true. So this include higher criticism and textual criticism. So though items may vary depending on the subject matter and the researcher, which is true. The following concepts are usually part of most formal historical research. You can find out identification of what origin date. You can find out about evidence of a location, recognition of authorship, analysis of data, identification of integrity, attribution of credibility, and all that. Now, historical research has to do with finding out if something is actually, or when something happens, how it happens, and the validity of the information. That is history. And as historian, you need to have a very good way of giving the narration down that is going to flow to whoever is going to read the note. The lecture, and a very good example is the lecture we give this morning. This lecture is not in one textbook. It's not from a given textbook. It's from multiple textbooks, and that's why we don't feel comfortable when you ask. Mr. Fidelis said now that he doesn't have this note, and I say it's not meant to have it because this information coming out are from multiple textbooks and they are arranged for you to understand. That's it. Series of events has happened from no single textbook has it all. So it's a combination of ideas from multiple researchers in qualitative design. So that is what we mean by the historical research based on a narration approach. Now let's look at some advantages here. The researcher is not physically involved in the situation under study that has been justified. You don't have to know when it happened. The World War II. Today, if people will tell stories about World War II, you think they will actually witness or they witnessed the War II themselves. But no. But actually, they have a very good understanding of the event because they read it. So no danger of experimental subject interaction. You were not involved, so no danger had ever come to you. You were not a subject matter. You were not part of the war. You were not amputated, so you didn't suffer any harm. So documents are located by the researcher, data is gathered, and conclusions are drawn out of sight. Okay, so these are things that we consider as great advantages to it. Okay, there are quite a number of disadvantages that we may also consider. Number one, in conducting historical research, the researcher can neither manipulate, you can't control anything, you cannot change any event. Unfortunately, not like storytellers. However, storytellers are not researchers because you are not telling us stories of something you will not document. And storytellers, you will not, there are things that you have to publish. So if you fabricate your story, Nobody. By the time people compare your event, they will run away. They will run away from what you tell them. It's just like someone on the YouTube who is a YouTuber, and you give us histories of what event that took place in Nigeria, and you are giving us a fake one. By the time people listen to you twice, they will run away from your channel. It's just as simple as that. Number two, there is no way historical researchers can affect events of the past. You don't have control. It has happened, it has happened. You just have to state it, justify it, and move on. Historical research can't collect data by administering instrument. Never. You have to go and look at the instruments that have been administered and that have been documented in archives, in library, and so many other areas. Historic, Historical research is limited to whatever data that is available. That's the truth. And the last but not the least is that they rely on secondary sources of data, which I'm sure you know that. It's something that people have done, not something that you are doing. Because something that you are doing becomes a history someday for some other people as historical research. I think these are the various. We have a number of.
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me, sir.
Yes, Mr. Fidelis.
Now that a researcher cannot collect data, is that not supposed to be an advantage? Because collection of data will involve a lot of energy and time. But now you have data available to you. I feel it's supposed to be an advantage.
Okay, let's explain together as a class here. We are talking about history here, Mr. Fidelis, isn't it?
Yes.
How do you want to collect data in history?
No, no. What I'm
Before,
saying, I agree with the concept,
okay,
but I'm saying that that concept would have be an advantage. The reason is that because I've been involved in collection of data and I know the effort, I know the energy. So if you are not going to get data at your disposal without even going through that kind of rigor, so what that mean to me, I feel is an advantage rather than disadvantage.
yes, okay. I understand your part of yes, yes. Okay,
Excuse me, sir.
yes. It's something we
Yeah,
can actually.
on the contrary, research is supposed to be rigorous, and that makes it scholarly. So if you have something that is on a platter of gold, then you have not actually done any research. That's the way I will look at it.
I
So
think I
the
like the
rigorosity
I
is,
like the
is
logic.
No, no,
important.
no. So I disagree. I disagree. Now we are looking at one of the research design. There is an historical research design that has been given that is we are discussing. If it was not a researchable item, there would have been no need for us to discuss it. The fact that it's a researchable item and is historical research design, but we are saying that in this form of research design, we don't collect data from samples. We already have the data available. So for me, I think it's an advantage because it saves you time.
Yeah,
Because research is
I
about time management.
yeah I know. I heard. I understand that very well. On the part we are not talking about the advantages and the disadvantages we are actually enumerating here are not in favor of researcher. We are talking about in favor of the type of design. Are we together? And that's the angle at which Madam Denike is coming in. The design that you are
That's
involved with,
right.
you should know that this has limitation. You saw the data on ground, you have validated it, but some people somewhere will still tell you, "Oh boy, what you are talking about. Did I was part of this war. I saw it koro koro eye. This man did has left something out." And my dear scholars, what this person is adding to this point cannot be justified because it is not documented anywhere. You can't include it. He's saying he witnessed the war, and the war is not as what has been documented. You cannot add his point because his point is out of your design. If you have to add his point, then his point becomes what? Phenomenology. I hope, Mr. Fidelis, you understand this. Yes, to the part of the researcher, it's an advantage, but the kind of design, it's actually a disadvantage because you
Yes,
don't
sir.
have other you have a means of justifying your data, but within that means, some people will still tell you that your research is not well, it's not reliable, and there is nothing you can do about it, even though on a several notes on time, justification has been met. I hope this you understand this.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Permit me to add, sir.
Yeah, Mr.
Permit me to
Fidelis,
add,
are you
sir.
still with us?
Prof, I agree with you. Thank you for the explanation.
All right. I heard voices of people who still want to contribute.
Yes,
The floor is open.
yes, yes, sir. Permit me to add. So, to Mr. Fidelis, yes. So, the World War now, you have the historical research being conducted on World War II, for instance, and then you have a person who leads the experience, a phenomenological research, and this person is giving you a first-hand information of how the war happened and what they suffered and how they survived through a particular phenomenon. So, which of them would be more authentic to study? The history of the books or versus the person who lived that experience through the war in terms of reliability or authenticity for a rigorous research?
All right. Thank you. I think the answer is
Now
obvious.
you see something. If you are involved in maybe a war, for example, you will not have the full picture. But when people document exactly what happened during that war with diverse opinion, they will have a 360-degree view about what truly had transpired during that war. It's like now you are working in Babcock, for example. You are only restricted to the area you are working and everything that happens there. But when people bring up their own diverse thing that they experience in Babcock, you have a full compendium of all the items that happen in Babcock, and you should be able to draw inference from people's divergent view. I mean, whatever your view is subjective to you,
All right.
even if it's objective, other person will say your view are subjective.
That's good. Thank you so much. Now we'll move ahead to the last design.
Okay, sorry, sir. If I can interrupt at this point, I just
Yes.
wanted clarification. Okay. Before my debate from law, I'm looking at the different concepts and the that we have discussed on the phenomenal, the historical, and the other type of and the narrative design. So I'm picturing a research being carried out by an archaeologist now, and maybe they find we keep saying sometimes they see some long buried artifacts or something, and they try to bring out some historical data out of that. In this context now, how do we classify that type of research? Will it be phenomenal? Maybe if whatever findings that they come up with is something new, or will it be historical?
Well, archaeologists and their discoveries. Let me leave that for the class. Then I can then share my logic after your contributions.
Good morning, sir. Once again,
Good morning.
this is Adejumoke Dada from North.
Thank you.
I think that the discovery of archaeologists is historical because it's not a narration, but the people that live the experience. It's something that has happened a long time. The people involved, many of them might have even died. Many times they go to places where people have lived for hundreds and at times millions of years. So where the people that lived there, they are no longer there. So it's more of historical than a phenomenology where the people that lived the life and had the experiences are the ones narrating or telling their own story the way it made meanings to them. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I quite agree with you, madam, from nursing department. Do we have other contributions to this, or probably a different opinion? The floor is open.
No, sir, not a different opinion, just further contribution, sir. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Yeah, so most psychological discoveries are usually just historical discovery. Basic, exactly how she actually explained it. Basically, because of the fact that those who were there as at that time when the whole thing happened, or sorry, those who were in those particular places or something, are no longer present to actually give a descriptive analysis, a descriptive report or analysis of what happened in that particular period of time. Like take for example the canons that were found in Cairo, among many others. Those people, we are only reading of manuscripts that were found within those particular verses. Those people who wrote it, the people that were alive during that period, none of them are around to tell exactly how it is. So that's why some archaeologists will say the truth is actually a lie that has been told often and often until we forgot that it's actually a lie. So I quite agree with that, sir.
All right, thank you so much. I appreciate your further contributions to that. Now, thank you, everyone. It's good for us to go to the last design so that we can move on. I also like you to know that by exactly your 10 o'clock, I will give you a 5 minutes break so that we can also exercise and use the restroom and, you know, get back to studies. All right. The last one, but not the least here, is the case study. Why do we do a case study? We do a case study for so many reasons, and this is more peculiar to scientific area to validate research, to validate a cure, or to investigate a particular disease in action. Okay, permit me to read only the first paragraph we have here. The case study research, you know, design have evolved over the past few years as a useful tool for investigating trends. When you say trend, something that has been out, and you need to know where is the end of that thing. The trend, does it have an end? So, investigating trend and scientific situation in many scientific disciplines. Most especially, we're talking about social science, psychology, anthropology, ecology. And let's give a particular instance. You are doing a case study of a health situation or how people have been attending to um, patient. You want to justify that patients are quickly attended to based on the law of the health, policies in the medical situation of Nigeria. And another school of thought is that patients are actually neglected over a period of time before they are being attended to. Anyway, not to drag these stories too far, you need to do a study on it. And you have actually selected some teaching hospitals for a scientific or reasons which you must justify on paper. And you have to carry out a research on these hospitals on the relationship between patient and health personnel. At the end of the day, you come out to tell us that this is what you have observed. Does it fall into what was done or what was said or negate it? This is an example. Another one could be the efficacy of a disease. You want to study the particular disease, symptoms, and the healing process. And some hospitals are actually known to have been, you know, to have done so much exposition in such areas, and you want to find out how has this been done. You can also carry out a case study with the special mentioning of such medical area. Okay, another situation could also be the services. You can also investigate services, services being rendered. For instance, there was, remember the issue of sex for grade in Nigeria. How was sex for grade actually overcame and investigated was a particular case study of Lagos State University. All right, there was a concentration of a particular school or some schools. Okay, and eventually those involved had to be students, and they actually captured everything, and those perpetrators were brought to book. All right, another method of using case study is social menace or challenges we have in our society. An example is the issue of night crawlers, those who are patronizers and who patronize women in the night. You can use a case study to unravel what is behind this issue. But one particular challenge or situation about case study is that it is not easily replicable. And I will ask you why as we move along. So I've given you almost 5 examples. Let's see what the note has for us as we scroll by. We collect data, and in the process of case study, you have to think about this point very, very seriously in analyzing case study. You have to read, you have to visualize, you have to realize, you have to analyze. You have to think about alternative means. What went wrong? Why did it happen? What is to be done and what should have been done? These are things that you would like to unravel. And I've given us a number of situations, but let's concentrate. Let's come back to the last example I gave, street soliciting. A number of stakeholders actually involved. And after my explanation, I'm going to go back to the question that I asked or the proposition I gave that case study is very difficult to replicate. I want your answer to that after this explanation. When we're talking about street soliciting, so many people, stakeholders are involved. It's not just the women that practice this or the men. Sorry, let me use the word. We live in a very terrible moment now that it's not just one gender involvement that stays on the road. Even men do these days. So police has to be, is a police war versus street soliciting. Okay, legal, crackdown is not working. You gave a rule that there's a by 7 everybody is locked in. Nobody should. There's no movement. That is no longer working. Then the problem needs to be what understood. Research study is commissioned that we want to find out what is really involved, what is wrong, who are the really, what should be done, where has something gone wrong in this process. So you may have to go ahead asking this question: what are the women turning to? Why are the women turning into prostitution? Why are the men turning into prostitution? What are the alternatives of the local community to this? What sort of clients seeks women's services, and where are the clients from? These are questions that are germane that you need to find out. And this involves everybody. You can see different shades of color involvement. Now, when this research, when this book was written, the discovery then was about women. But I tell you today, it has gone beyond that. So we would have to interject the picture you see here with interviews of men too, not just the women. The men too have to be interviewed on both area. And you can see here we have the researcher interviewing police, interviewing the local community, interviewing women, and interviewing men, and including the vigilante. It has to be interviewed too. And the elite has to be interviewed. If they have money, how many jobs have they provided for the community that may have kept these people, indoor to source for their income within this organization than rather from individual satisfaction or detriment, as the case may be. So here we have personal biography, in addition to attitude from their work and others, okay, that may have to come to light. Now, another thing that we may have to also discover is the range of these are range of problems. So let's name a few advantages that we may encounter in a case study of such. We in we may have to end up developing strong reading skills to be able to unravel this. You have to read a lot. You have to develop analytical skills. You have to develop logical thinking. You have to develop strategic planning skills, and you have to facilitate learning regarding analysis of impact of decision, and also facilitate enhanced domain learning experience in such research. The list is endless in case studies. These are some of the things that you would end up doing. However, there are also some disadvantages that surrounds this that you have to be very careful when you embark on a case study research. I mentioned earlier, which I'm going to ask you why. The number one here is a inability to replicate. You will tell me. Then number two, researcher's bias. Researcher's bias. It's actually enhanced researcher's bias. Then it is time sensitive. Then there's a possibility of error involvement in the results. Then there are a lot of ethical issues which I will bring into this very soon. Ethical issues, like I will briefly explain, is the fact that if you are a single person, or you are, even if you are not single, you are not disciplined, and you go and carry out a research such as finding out why prostitutions happen. Ladies and gentlemen, remember, in quote, you are not disciplined. You might end up being the participant rather than the researcher, and you'll be asking who is actually evaluating who at the end of the day. Another area is on the issue of you want to find out why incantations happen traditionally. If you are not a believer of a certain faith, before you know it, your incantations will be more than the person you are studying at the end of the research. And you find it difficult to get out of it because you have been involved. You have immersed yourself so much that you become the person to be investigated. So I will just answer that. I will just shed light on that while I will use the first question here. I will want to ask my dear student here on the issue of the first question: why is case study a difficult thing to replicate? Then we'll just use that to wrap up the session of the qualitative design. I want to use let's use 2 minutes to deliberate on this, and I call for your responses. Why is it difficult to replicate? Do we have answers coming in?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you. Can you respond?
Yes, sir.
Can you share your
Because
opinion?
sometimes, yes, because sometimes you won't be there. You are just relying on what you are being told. So the case study will not be perfectly presented.
Right. All right. Thank you. Can we have odd more? It's
Also,
perfect.
sir, the conditions surrounding the occurrences are not usually the same at all times. So
Hmm.
that
I
could
like.
alter the
We
result.
we like to know more. What are these conditions? That's where the interest is. And I must say that you have hit the nail at the right point.
The environment,
Good.
the maybe the situation could be political, it could be religious. Crisis can occur in places based on different reasons. So on that note, the results may not be you cannot carry the condition of what happens here to another place.
Thank you. I very
Yes.
much agree with that. And just to add to that, unemployment of a situation is not the same with other community. Enlightenment, education about the education about particular situation also varies. Okay, right? Can do we have more to add to what has
Yes.
been said?
Yes, sir. More,
And
sir.
also the cases are unique. They are unique to a specific real life context, and they differ from one person to to another.
Okay, all right. Thank you,
Yes,
Madam
sir.
Adenike. Nasiru, over to you.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Now, supporting what she said, the uniqueness as well as standardization. Now, microbiologically speaking, though, most times we actually see certain research that we like the topic. I will want to put that research into our own field and want to see how it flows. So most times the situation revolving the particular research in the case study may not also revolve around the research at that particular point of time. Take for example, somebody works on Helicobacter pylori over there in maybe Australia, and you also want to do the same research here in Nigeria. The geographical locations are different, the temperature, the climate, and everything is different, which will definitely affect your result. There was a research that was done last year that involved food spoilage. Now, the research was done by a researcher here in Bangkok, a female researcher here in Bangkok in microbiology, and a co-researcher also in Austria, and they both used the same sample and got two different results, even though the sample came from Nigeria, the northern part of Nigeria, Katsina to be precise, and they got two different results. So uniqueness, standardization are two things that actually affect this thing, replication of case study research. Thank you, sir.
I very much appreciate and I agree with that. I still had some willingness of people to speak behind. Are you still available?
Yes, sir. So this is Obuna for computer science.
All right.
Yes, sir. So I think the real question, the real answer comes from the question itself. The research design. What is a research design? So research design is actually like a blueprint or an approach. You know, the template you are going to keep following in solving different problems. What plan or what structure will you use as a researcher to carry out this solution in this case study? Definitely, the case study differs and changes. You cannot use the same technique to achieve for more than one case study. So when the case studies are different based on their uniqueness, based on all the specific community you are dealing with, the situations are always going to be different. So that means your research design as a researcher should also change to cater for all these conditions or the human behavior variability and other environmental changes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. You have all explained the way things should be explained. Case study is difficult to say this was how it was solved in my hometown. Therefore, use the approach of my hometown. If you do that, you will people will die before you know it. When I say people dying, is that what you expect to be a solution will be a disaster, catastrophic to the situation. I once went for a conference. Sometimes I'm not, permit me, I'm on air. I'm not going to mention the state, but some of you might guess. I went for a conference, and by 6 p.m. we're outside, looking for a place to have a lunch. You can imagine the kind of people I saw on the street. They were like secondary school ladies. Oh God, I shed tears for the country. What I saw, it was my first experience in life to see young people on the street. I'm sure situations likely to have changed now because men too are also involved in such acts now. Another experience was another conference we went to. We were trying to get good food to eat. Okay, this is another issue now. And it was very difficult for us to get a good food without, you know, cooking adulterated meat for us. Okay, so the only way we could do a research, what do we do? My late professor now, Adekunle, was alive there. He said, okay, let's ask them. We want dog meat. We are not saying we don't want. We want food with dog meat. So it was easy for them to say, oh, we sell dog. Oh, we don't have dog meat. And meanwhile, what we're actually looking for is a canteen that has no dog meat. Anyway, Ladies and gentlemen, we have spoken. Let's come back after 5 minutes to start the third type of research. Dr. Anokro, would you want to contribute to what we have mentioned so far? Okay,
I'm okay. I'm moving along, sir.
thank you so much. We appreciate. All right, let's have a recess for 5 minutes. Let's, for those of us who want to have water, if it's not beside you, you want to use the restroom. This is the time before we go into the third research approach. Thank you so much. I'm just going to pause the recording while that takes place. All right, I just unpaused the recording is in session. I'd like us to start uh, a new design approach, which is the third one. The second one, by the way, we're still going to uh, the quantitative design later, or the quantitative approach. Sorry, by the way, because there are quite a number of designs under that approach. That makes it more wider than a design. All right. The one we want to consider right now is something that we have heard so much about that we need to also learn about it and know how to use it. May I request if you can see my slide?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir,
Yes,
we
sir.
can see the floor.
All right, we are going to talk about the mixed method approach and why. Let's find out why do we need this, in actual sense. And I think I justify this sometimes. The issue of qualitative, was it last week? I think I did that last week. If I live in a community where people, we don't have light, and I did just a research to find out what are people going through, and I constrain them to the information I want to get without knowing that people actually pass through more than what they have put on paper, because I actually deprive them of voice, getting their voices more than what I have requested for. And at the end of the day, if you compare the two, you will want to take to validate the one that has to do with qualitative more than the quantitative, because the qualitative has allowed them to voice out the challenges in a more visible and excruciating way than what the quantitative would have done. So sometimes we want to get more light on to ensure that we have done a full research, we have done a full propose a full solution to the challenges on ground. So that's why we tend to go for the mixed mode. So a mixed mode method research approach is a procedure for collecting, analyzing, and mixing both quantitative and qualitative research and method in a single study to understand a problem better, or a research problem. Okay, that is the reason, like I have just explained. However, we should know that qualitative study, deals with element of some statistical analysis too, and while quantitative study, uh, where some form of narration and textual analysis is also possible, meaning that we transfer some quantitative study to qualitative, and we transfer some qualitative structure or themes to what? To quantitative. That's what we mean. Therefore, a multi-method research approach. Here we are dealing with varied, strategies of data collections, analysis, but without integrating this prior to what? Drawing final conclusions. So it's a mixture of both that we want to see how it works. So combining or integration of qualitative and quantitative research and data in research study is what we call what? Mixed method. I will share this a lot of books on qualitative research, so that for those of you who may want to learn more later, I'm going to share this with us. For those in computer science, it's also good for you to go and learn how to Python. Go and learn Python and research that you can do using Python. Most of this can also use Python to analyze. Maybe there will be time before you finish your studies where I will organize a Python tutorial. I hope God will grant us the grace, just like I'm planning to organize that of um, that of SPSS now. And when we're talking about Python, don't think it's just for computer science. For those in marketing, the world today, marketers, economists are in Python. They are using Python. So we should all learn how to use it. The public health should learn how to use Python. Globally now, you want to do a research, they ask you of tools, not just the knowledge. It's the tools you use that you'll be requested to actually produce. All right. So we have justified reasons why we have to go through mixed method. Now let's look at some types of study design under the mixed method approach. We are going to explain 5 different methods under the mixed mode approach. The first one is what we call the convergent parallel mixed method. Convergent, which means something that meets at a particular point, at a particular place. The second is explanatory sequential mixed method. Explanatory, okay? Explanatory sequential mixed method. The third is exploratory. The fourth is embedded, and the fifth but not the last is what we call the multiple phase, or call it complex mixed method. All other methods are actually involved, and that's why it's called complex phase or phases. Let's start with the first one, which is the convergent parallel design. At the end of each designs, I would pause to take your contributions or your questions as it's you may have them. Remember, convergent parallel, which means at a point in time, these things are meeting at a particular point. There's a meeting point. When we're talking about convergent point, meeting point happens. And here we are talking about doing a quantitative data collection, and you will analyze. You do a quantitative analysis of a particular problem. You will finish it. You will finish it, including the analysis, and then you do a qualitative version of the same problem. You also analyze it. So, which means you have two solutions that are parallel. Then, what do you do with the results? You compare the results. When you compare the results, if the results were carried out
I'm sorry, sir. Excuse me. I lost the conversation at a point. Can you please take it again, sir? Please.
from where and where do you want me to take it again?
From the process of qualitative and quantitative research.
Okay, we just mentioned that we have types of study design approach under the quantitative, the mixed method approach. We have 5 type of designs that we have under the mixed method approach. The first is the convergent parallel mixed method. When you hear the word convergent, those of us who study arithmetic, meaning that there's a point of contact,
Meeting.
a meeting point. Okay, we will discuss about that. The second is explanatory sequential mixed method. Explanatory. When talking about explanatory, we also discussed that explanatory, right? And the third of that is exploratory. Similar, but this is you are exploring now, not explaining, but you are digging deeper. You want to know more deeper. Okay, and the fourth is embedded. Something embedded method is encapsulating. And the fourth, I mean the last, which is the fifth one, is the mixed method. Is the complex mixed method, or we'll call it multiple phases, meaning that all the convergent, the explanatory, the exploratory, the embedded are actually coming into action. So we take them one after the other. We start from the first one, which is the convergent parallel design. And here you have a problem. You want to use multiple design. Let's take an example of the issue of a community where people live and they have experienced light out for 5 months, and you are doing a research to find out what's what are the experiences of people in that community, and you have gathered the data and analyzed. You started with quantitative, and you felt that the solution you got were not adequacy, adequate in nature to measure the quantum of problem that people have gone through. So you decide to take the second design and invited some people for discussion, which was done qualitatively. You also gather the result. So at the end of the day, what do you do with the two results? You compare and relate the solution. Finally, you make your interpretation based on what you have collected. This is what people went through quantitatively. However, after a thorough investigation by having discussion, you discover that some people actually lost their lives between the process of illness to the hospital because there was no light. There was no means of getting access to getting people to help them in the community. That is also possible through the interaction. And perhaps also economic wise, people have lost a lot in terms of having the ability to buy in large quantity and keep in a refrigerator or in a deep freezer where things can help them to cushion effect when things are expensive. So these are issues that you could come up as a content of comparison to eventually you justify your point, states and all that. So this is what we call parallel, the convergent parallel design. You only meet at the point of comparison and you eventually write your result. Now let's look at another method. I have given you a method of book. Let's look at the one I have within the book here. A further explanation to what I've explained. If you want to read more, let's look at it's a mixed method design in which quantitative and qualitative data collected simultaneously but analyze how separately, meaning that are using the same environment and the results are merged or integrated. This type of design allows for the collection of rich, detailed data and provides a comprehensive understanding of the research problem. You will be able to know what people are going through. It's not just at the surface where you limit what they can see on paper. And I think that is very, very fundamental too. All right, let's look at an example here. You want to find out employee satisfaction at a company by simultaneously conducting. Let's talk about that Babcock University. Are they satisfied with the kind of work? So you want to find out by conducting a quantitative employee survey about job aspects like work-life balance and salary. You design an instrument like that, while also conducting qualitative interviews with a subset of employee, meaning that some groups, not everyone, but some groups, to explore their detailed perspectives on company's culture. Now we're talking about culture and leadership. Remember, not the same wordings on paper. We're talking about culture and leadership, and this will definitely cut across what we had earlier on paper on the quantitative, because we are talking about the culture of the company, which means the one of the cultures that on Friday they close at 1 p.m. Do some people stay behind after 1 p.m.? Do some departments engage their staff more than 1 p.m.? That could be a challenge in the culture. Leadership, when is salary paid? When is leave allowance paid? Do they give them their monthly, their annual leave bonuses, promotion adequately? These are leadership styles that will also, capture the issue of work-life balance and salary. Remember, we didn't say salary here. We're talking about culture and leadership. But at the end of the day, it's actually going to the same issue because it's discussion and everything will be open up. Then comparing the results from both data sets to gain a comprehensive understanding of employee satisfaction level and their reason behind it. I hope this is clear. This is what we call the convergent or parallel design. Any question? Do you have any question? Am I still in tune with the class or I lost you?
Oh, we're here, sir.
Yeah, yes,
Yeah,
sir.
yes, sir.
We are here. We
Yes,
are
sir.
listening to you, sir.
Thank you so much. Let's take the next one, which is explanatory.
Hello, sir. Sorry, sir. Adepoju here, sir. Nursing department.
All right.
Please, sir. doesn't mean that the quantitative aspect of it will involve all the employees, while only the qualitative will affect only selected few.
No, ma. Both quantitative and qualitative have what we call sample design
Okay.
calculation. You have
Okay.
to calculate what the population is vis-a-vis the sample design that you have to capture.
Okay.
You may not have to capture every one of them, especially for companies. We are talking about Babcock University. There's no way you can capture all of them. Okay, you have to make a selection, a sample size that will form a very good percentage of the population in question,
Representative.
representative. And the same thing you do with the qualitative, which we'll still study all this later after the designs are over. And we talk about the sample size and frame and population of both,
Okay, sir.
how to get both.
Thank you, sir.
You're
Thank you, sir.
welcome. All right, welcome. The second one is explanatory mixed method design. And we're talking about explanatory. How is it captured? How is the design done? We start with quantitative data collection. When you have collected data, you also do the same to the quantitative. You collect data on quantitative. You also collect data. You analyze the data you have collected quantitatively. Remember, both of them are quantitative. Collect data collection on quantitative. When you finish, you analyze. When you finish analyzing, you produce the results of the quantitative. Now, the result of the quantitative will be the follow-up for the qualitative. So, the result will be a follow-up for qualitative data collection. And also a follow-up of the collection will lead to analysis. And finally, you triangulate, you compare the results you have gotten. Sometimes for a community that says there's no light, and this is what we go through. In fact, some people will tell you we are very okay. Very okay. No light for 3 months. You are very okay. Okay, no problem. After you have finished your result, you that same result, you use the result to get people again from the same community, and tell them that we have actually done this before, and people said they are okay. And I hope that this is okay with all of you. Then you now see a mixed reaction of their being okay coming in different format. So at the end of the day, you triangulate your results and be able to interpret it vis-a-vis being okay and varieties of okayness in their satisfaction level. So that will help them to get better result. Let's say further examples, more than the the head knowledge I gave you now. It says here that you can estimate the average number of accidents and determine which area are classified as high risk. That is very possible if it's a road you have applied yourself. You are asked to do that between Lagos and Ibadan Expressway. Average number of accidents and determine which area are classified as high risk. From this conclusion, you can interview drivers who ply the road in this area and analyze their response in a qualitative framework. Remember, the first one is you can estimate the average number of accidents. How can you do that? There are people who are actually in charge of that on a daily basis. Let's take Nigeria, for example. The the National Road, what is their name now? The traffic people. What's the full meaning? Can someone?
FRSC.
Thank you.
FRSC.
Thank you so much. The FRSC's obligation and function is to also take statistics every day of the number of accidents that happen. So they should have the record, so you don't have to do that again. Those are the people that can give you live feed of what happens on the road. So just consult them for the quantitative data. However, also interview drivers and how things are working. Now, based on your qualitative data, you can give possible explanation for why accident happen in some section and investigate specific causes of such accident. So this is something that is possible. for both areas. But the essence is to reduce the phenomenon, to ensure that the phenomenon is reduced to a significant level. That's why we do both research. Okay, it's very possible sometimes the FRSC may not have enough feed on the number of possible accidents. They will just approximate. That is very, very dangerous to life. That can happen. That mistake would occur. But when you get people who have experiences on the road and how they apply it every day, they may be able to hit the nail without jeopardizing what the government wants to do to them and all that. Okay? Do we have any question on this? The next one is the exploratory mixed method. The exploratory is a little different from. I'm giving you two different designs here, which is actually ending up at the same level. You start with qualitative data collection and analysis. When you do that, you build that result into the quantitative. You can see that it's similar to the one we did before. You build that result into the quantitative. The one we did before was actually a quantitative starting. So here now we are starting with qualitative. That's why it's more exploratory, not explanatory. I hope you get that design. The previous one was explanatory because it's not the deeper sense of it is later. Now this is starting from the deeper sense at the beginning now, and we are ending up with the quantitative. And you also use qualitative results to develop a new instrument. Here you end up with a new instrument, model, or taxonomy at the end of the day from the qualitative exploration, and that is why it is exploration. I hope this is clear. Let's see the other diagram too. Both of them are done. You feed the data of the exploratory, similar to the explanatory data, into the quantitative. But here, you are actually building a new taxonomy from the exploratory concepts that helped you. Let's look at a similar example we saw later. You can begin by talking to drivers or handing out questionnaires to discover hazardous road sections within Lagos and Ibadan. Or rather, if you don't want to go through them, go through the FRSC, Federal Road Safety Corps, who are expected to be on the road at every given time to find out to solve problems on the road. So this, when you do this, then you can now follow this up at the number of accidents in the section to compare the statistics with the driver's state sentiment of what the road looks like. Okay, you discover that here you start with what you said you talking to drivers on handing out questionnaire. You have spoken to them. Okay, on the one-on-one qualitative or discussion, could be a focus group discussion, and after that then you can also back it up with what a quantitative data analysis. At the end of the day, you will be able to see the sentiment of the drivers vis-a-vis the road. Maybe the road was not properly tied when they claimed they had actually tied the road, and so many other you know bizarre issues that could emanate in the discussion that would help you figure out what the challenges may have been over time. All right, do we have question before we go to the fourth one? Any question? All right, the fourth
Yes,
one.
sir.
Go ahead, please.
Okay, I want to ask if the the same drivers that you ask questions are the same drivers that will fill the questionnaires, or you go to another set.
Yeah, it has to be the same because when you are talking about comparison, it has to be the same environment. It has to be the same environment, the same driver. Otherwise, you have diverse opinion and you have diverse results. And once that is happening, of course, it's possible because the environment, the situation, and the people involved are not the same. So it's possible. It's possible. But here we are talking about the challenges. The major thing that we need that should be possible here is the environment. It may not be the same driver. Let me justify that. You met the FRSC, you collected data between Lagos Ibadan Expressway. Obviously, you can't get the same people again, and you are not. They are not going to give you that. They just tell you that the possible area. So, what is mandatory is that it could be the same, it may not be the same, and getting the same people may be very difficult. So what is justifiable is the fact that it is environmental similarity, not people participant similarity. I don't know, Madam Okochi, is that clear?
Yes, sir.
So it's important to have the same environment. It's not so important to have the same people. But the experience, if you say there's an accident prone, this place, for instance, let me give you between, I know before they actually fix the road, Lagos Ibadan, the branch, the branch very close to the under the bridge where you branch to Shagam Road, there used to be, I mean, there used to be robbery there. If you apply that place before daybreak, and you have met people who said is a robbery prone area. I'm not sure, except someone that has not been plying the road will tell you otherwise. So that is an example. Okay, that is an example. Environmental, not people. People will always give similar things, but if it's not the same place, then you are likely to have answers that are not the same. Okay, thank you so much. Let's move on to embedded mixed method.
Excuse me, sir.
Okay,
Sorry, sir.
Madam Adinike, go ahead. All right.
Yes, sir. Before you move further, sorry to sir. I
No,
am
no, no,
still
it's all
thinking.
right.
I'm still thinking because my understanding before now is that in a qualitative study, the population is not usual are not usually many. So if we have, for instance, let's say the example you gave about Babcock University, we are looking at the population there. And then I use Cochrane formula to get a particular amount of sample size. Now, am I going to apply the same population that I used for the quantitative aspect to also for the qualitative?
Okay, thank you so much. Do I have someone in the house? I want to believe I have intelligent group in the house, and that's why I'm always happy to take this class. Do I have someone who wants to help to answer that?
Good morning, sir.
Morning, morning.
Okay, my name is Madetono Ifeoluwa from Public Health.
Thank you. Good morning.
Okay, I think if you use a certain sample size population for the quantitative study, when you are moving towards qualitative, depending on the instrument you are using. Okay, let me give an example of a particular research that is assessing predictors of substance abuse among adolescents, and the researcher is planning to use a mixed method. So let's say after calculating the sample size, you get the sample size of 400 adolescents. So for the quantitative study, then for the qualitative study, the researcher can decide to use a focus group discussion of just like maybe 15 adolescents to using a focus group guide. So in a nutshell, the sample size for the quantitative might not be the same thing as the sample size for the qualitative study. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you so much. You have answered well. It's something we'll still cover later. I would just wanted to seek your opinion on the ideas you have. But you should just take note that for focus group discussions, it is between 1 to 6 or maximum 1 to 8. However, you can have more than one group for a particular sample size. You can have more than a group that is well defined. Why do we reduce this? Oh, you will know all this later as we move ahead. Thank you so much, Madam Adenike. The sample sizes are not the same, and the reason is far, far different. Saturation point, we usually stop at saturation point when we talk about the qualitative, where the majority carries the vote. The more we have, the more sample size we have under quantitative, the better the result. That's a different perspective entirely. We deal with numeracy in quantitative, while in qualitative we deal with saturation. When the results are not changing again, then it means that there's no new information. We'll still deal with that briefly after this design. I hope you are satisfied for now.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. The next I want to talk about is the embedded mix method. The embedded mix method, it's when you have a design that is more of holistic, of qualitative, more qualitative in nature, then you are just bringing the quantitative as an embryo. Just like when you can see, it's like an egg where we have the white layer. What's the name of the white layer now? The name of the white layer in an egg. I've forgotten my biology.
Albumin.
Thank you so
Albumin.
Thank you so much. While we have
Water
the
bottle.
All right, while we have the quantitative coming as a yolk area, okay. And if you look at it, the green, the qualitative covers the yolk, meaning that it houses the yolk. That is how embedded mix method is explained. The major design is qualitative, and when you do both. Mixing quantitative data should enhance. Remember, you are enhancing the qualitative, you are enhancing the quantitative data with what? The result. Because qualitative here is more pronounced than the quantitative. Then you do your interpretation. It's possible for such, okay, to happen. You are only enhancing the quantitative data with the qualitative in a wider sense. Then you come to your result. Let's look at an example here. This is a very a good example. But before the example, may I ask someone to read the meaning of embedded? I'm sure you can see the screen. Anybody can read for us.
The design is also known as nested design. It involves embedding one research design into another to generate new insights. Embedded designs may be convergent or sequential. As an illustration, this technique could embed qualitative research within a broader quantitative study. The quantitative study is used to offer a large understanding of the research problem, whereas the qualitative study provides a more in depth understanding of specific
In
parts
a
of the
mute.
problem.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen and colleagues, by the time you play back this video, you will see exactly what we just discussed. Anyway, I will just have to help you to understand. By the time you play this back, the very good explanation that our brother just read for us, you see how things went here. Okay? You see how things went. I just try to I just try to help to mute Ezekiel. It's Ezekiel Okoyemi. In case you can hear me, uh, to get a better concept of this research. Oh, okay now. To get a better concept of this research is the fact that the fact that we should mute our profile. We should mute our profile. Okay, please let's mute our profile as we have explained. Let's mute our profile, and it's likely that during the course of this, by the time you play back, you see some. I just noticed a technical error now. Anyway, which is not too much. Thank God I discovered that on time. It's just between our break time and now. The content will be stagnant for a while, which I would see how that can be resolved in subsequent level. Now, please, the rule of the game: we make mistakes as human beings, but once we call us to order, let's quickly adjust that so that by the time you have time to listen to this video again, you would be able to get the best picture without interference. Thank you once again, our brother, for helping us to read that. You can get the points there, and let's look at an example to back that up. There was a study done in 2002 by the researcher Yeo et al., and the aim is to investigate nurses' perception and experiences with the transition to a new nursing information system. They want to transit into a new techniques called care direct. So they've actually started this, just like we know in a very good organization where new things will be done, there is a need for us to run that new idea parallel with the old system before withdrawing the old if the new plays better. So I'm sure this is what happened. They want to study nurses' perception and experience that relates to what? The practice of a new system, okay? Care Direct. 2 years after its first introduction, the study used an embedded design in which the qualitative data and quantitative data were collected concurrently with the qualitative data giving what? Priority. And I think that is very correct. When you are using embedded, usually the qualitative gives priority to the quantitative. That is an example here. I hope this is clear to every one of us. Do we have questions or contributions before we deal with the last example, the last design under mixed method? Anybody? Okay, if that is a signal that you have something to say, please do speak. I am on the screen. I only heard the signal. You are free to speak, please. Okay, now that is it.
Sorry, sir. Just for clarity, I just wanted to find out when we say mixed method and looking at the example under the convergent method when we were reviewing the design, I just want to find out for mixed methods, do you mean that it is limited just to qualitative and quantitative methods of the research? Those are
What
the only two options you have to compare and relate.
Okay, what option do you have in mind? Then we can say this is going to be, this is workable, this is not workable. No, research is not static. Let's get things clear, class. All that we have given here is based on scenario happening. Your scenarios could be more complex than this. Then you think outside the box and say, okay, this will work because it has worked before, not that because it has not. And if you have not, it's possible that you may have not seen this in book before, but you can actually prove by contacting researchers who are well versed in research. And before you also conclude, you also go to workshops to present this and let people critique your work. So, research is dynamic. All that I'm giving you here is there is no fast rule about it. It's not stagnant. It's not something that you cannot refute. You can also actually inject other ideas into it and ensure that it works. The only thing that you have to be careful is that don't play with human life. You can start with animals, even though animals have rights to live before you finally say, okay, this is working. This is the number of mortality which is reduced before you can transfer to human. Thank you. Madam, what do you have in mind? I hope I did not confuse you.
No, you actually answered the question for me satisfactorily, which is I just wanted to know if there were limitations in terms of
No.
uh, yeah.
Yeah,
That's just
I think I perceived your intention. That's why I went that route.
all
All
right.
right.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, you're welcome. Do you have any other contributions or questions or doubts that we would want to clear? There is no fast rule. All that I'm giving you are scenario based on what is on ground. We can develop, if you want me to use the word, grounded theorem of what other people would have seen to bring it on board. Okay, so it's possible, very very possible. The last but not the least of today's design is what we call the method approach. Sorry, the multiple phase mixed method design. And this is exactly to answer the last question of our sister. Multiple is based on your scenario. It's based on your scenario. But actually, we can start multiple this way. You build a qualitative, and you analyze the qualitative, and the qualitative feeds data to the quantitative. And after that, it's also feeding data to another qualitative. It shows how complex design could be. So it's an integrate and interpret concept that has no particular design. It depends on the problem you are bringing on board. Okay, so that is exactly the question our sister was asking. It's dynamic. You can, if you, I can only give you an example, one example of such among multiple examples that could emanate at your job or what you want to do. Okay, let's look at a very holistic example, though complex, but let's take it one after the other. May I request someone to also read for us? But I want us to take it gently so that we can take note of some of the issues that we are dealing with.
In this approach, multiple projects with a common goal are conducted. This method requires multiple designs to be conducted over time with linkage in place to ensure that each phase builds on the previous ones. A project could start with a qualitative design and proceed to a quantitative design, then return to a qualitative design, and so on. The design may contain a convergent or consequential element. For example, Lee et al. 2018 conducted a study that sought to evaluate an intervention program, the Prevention and Wellness Trust Fund. The program was designed to address hypertension, pediatric asthma, falls among older adults, and tobacco use in Massachusetts. The aim was to improve health outcome through prevention and disease management strategies and reduce healthcare costs. A multi-phase explanatory sequential mix method design, that's qualitative to quantitative to qualitative, was used to gain a more comprehensive understanding of the implementation of the Prevention and Wellness Trust Fund intervention. The multi-stage explanatory sequential mix method design used in this study enabled the researchers to provide a more holistic, comprehensive, and actionable evaluation of the PWTF intervention program. The finding from the study can help program develop and policymaker to identify the most effective strategies for addressing the target health issues and design programs that are sustainable and cost effective.
Thank you so much, Madam from Nursing Department. That is
No,
why.
sir, it's public health, sir.
Thank you so much. I just guessed from the explanation of some of the terms that came up, which were medical, and the way you handled them was what prompted me to say likely to be nursing. That's good. Thank you so much. Yeah, is there still a contribution? This is a case of multiple design. We want to get a particular, the prevention and wellness trust of a particular case conducted to evaluate an intervention program was done. From intervention, we brought in what? Qualitative and so on and so forth. Why? Because we want to get a particular objective right, to be sure that mistakes are not involved, to be sure that the answers are adequately as promptly as we have indicated. That is the objective. So it's the same objective, multiple projects with a common goal. Take note, common goal, not diverted goals. Okay? Do you have any question? Do you have any question? Ladies and gentlemen, any question? All right, I want to believe we don't have any. All right, before we go, there's a method that we have mentioned several times, but it's good for us to know what actually takes place here, okay? Which is what we call the triangulation. Triangulation, and we have types of triangulation. I may just explain this to see where the moment our time is up, we will stop. We have mentioned triangulation over time. But triangulation was a particular mixed method that has been on before other types that we mentioned today came on board. And that's why we're not still, even though triangulation is embedded in, convergent, it's embedded in exploratory, explanatory, and so on and so forth. But what is really triangulation in as a mixed method design? It's actually a method of comparing the results of quantitative and qualitative with the intention of of getting the best logic. Yeah, that's what of getting the best logic out. Let's look at a few things written on the slide here. It's a mixed method research is known as the integration of data. It refers to the process of using multiple methods, data sources, do you hear that, or perspectives to gain a more comprehensive understanding of a research problem. A mixed method research involves triangulating the same phenomenon using different data collection method, the same problem using different data collection methods, such as survey and interview, or different data sources, self-reported data and observed data. So at the end of the day, what are you looking for? The mixed method study researchers methodically integrate or blend quantitative with qualitative to maximize the strength and minimize what? Flaws, error. You want to maximize your results by minimizing the error. That's the essence. So you bring so many things together. And if you ask me, that's why triangulation now has so many approaches in question when we are triangulating our results, as we have mentioned. We have different types of triangulation. To bring this to a close today, we have different types of triangulation, which we should understand as well. We have what we call integrating. We can integrate triangulation at the design level. Okay, the moment you are designing, you can integrate your triangulation, as we have mentioned several times today. Then also on your method of data collection, you can also integrate triangulation. And we have so many methods here. You can merge, you can connect, you can build, you can embed, you can use all those at the triangulation at the method design. I think we have other well, that's just the two approaches there. We will see more. I think I have some other types of method, not of integration, that I'm not sure. Yeah, I have other types later when we switch, because I decided to come to. If you saw the note earlier, after we finished the qualitative design, I ran down here. If you can see that I jump a number of slides. There was something discussed before here, which was validity and reliability of 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 qualitative, as well as coding. How do we code? How do we analyze? It was actually discussed, but usually we take the third type of design before we go into the coding. So in the process of the coding again, triangulation will come out, and it will be explained further so that we can get a better understanding of what it all means, and in terms of collection of data as well as coding. All right, I think I will draw the data from here today. By next week, what are we expecting to have? By next week, we are expecting to have the knowledge of how do we code, how do we analyze qualitative, how do we capture the data, how do we what are the instruments available under qualitative, design, and various designs within the same approach. What are the data means of data collection? We will know it by next week. We know the coding type, and we also know how to validate our results under chapter 3. And before I go, for those of us in the sciences apart from computer science, even including computer science, if you have to go with any of this method, please note that you will validate before you do your pre-field, you must validate your instrument, because Why do we validate? You should be sure that it's going to work. Because after your prefield, you are not coming back. You are going exactly to collect data and to report your data. So there's a room for us to validate or to either validate or what? Or look for the reliability of that result you propose that is going to work. Is it reliable? So it has to be done before pre-field, not after. Sometimes students will tell you, I will do it later. No, you can't do it. You have to do it before now. As a matter of fact, that is the only section that you report with past tense in your chapter 3 while you are still at the proposal stage. It is written in past tense. So may I draw my curtain here and request for contributions and questions as we bring the study to a close today. Let's let's ask for contribution and question from individuals. Did you understand the lessons of today? Are there areas that are challenging for you? This is the time for us to discuss. Otherwise, we have completed our assignment for today. Please, more assignments. Take your time to do this assignment. Remember, this is where from the assignment that we roll out, which will be marked. I'm going to mark this with time and return back to you. This is where we get our 50% from. The examination is just 30. But if you take our time to do this, presentation is going to start very soon. I can tell you that the next 2-3 weeks we'll start our presentation. That is the main core of this work, and that is what gives us the 50 marks, in addition to all various assignments that we would have attended to. So please take your time. Why we have a window of submission so that we'll be serious. It's not for us to cut anybody off. And please don't copy other people's work. Do a genuine and natural work without seeking the aid of resources outside your limit, more than textbooks. Don't outsource to people or machine to do for you. That is just a suggestion so that we don't get into trouble when we have to do an external document for people to read. May I take your questions or contribution, ladies and gentlemen? Hello?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Adepoju, yes, sir. Nursing department. Please, I would like to take you back to grounded theory, sir.
Okay.
Will I take home the fact that this grounded theory depends on the experiences of the researcher, not necessarily the participants, sir? Because
Not
you,
not absolutely.
okay,
The participants they have the notion, but the experiences of researcher will actually help to alleviate or to solve the pains or the
yes,
challenges that the respondents are going through. The
okay,
respondents have the story, they have the challenges, but all you have to come up with is that you are not the one that has the problem, but you are coming up with ample solution
solution,
suggestions because of past experiences that could have come in as a grounded theory yourself or a model to help the person going through that stage to come out successfully without further harms. So you are just bringing suggestions to help the
all right,
person to come out of the situation
okay, sir.
alive.
Thank you, sir.
And the moment you have these suggestions and it's positive for you, it becomes a model for further challenges in like manner.
All right. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Do you have any other contributions, gentlemen and ladies? Dr. Anokru, would you like to add anything?
So no,
Thank you.
I'm okay.
Thank you so much. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's been nice having you for 2 hour army, 3 hours now, and I hope to see all of you next week with good health and vibrant life. Thank you so much. Do have a nice day.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome,
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
Thank you, sir. Have a nice day, sir.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, sir. Have a